We are back. Steak and Sauce Podcast, episode 8, the baddest podcast in the land. I am your host, one half of the dynamic duo, Derek Nowlin, my co-host,
Antonio Cleveland.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Please stop what you're doing right now. Hit that subscribe button. You see it right there. Hit that notification bell so that you can be included on everything that we're dropping out. Come straight to your phone. We appreciate you. We appreciate the support. We have a special guest today, and I'm so excited for him being here. I'm going to turn up today. We have literally the smartest man in the world. The guy from Dos Equis literally stopped doing commercials when they found out about this guy right here because he was not the most interesting man in the world anymore, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Gary Doss. Let's give it up for him.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank
Antonio.
you. Yes, sir. You go by so many titles, right? We call you Dad.
Right. You call me Dad.
Yep.
Yeah, and I call you Son.
Son, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've been called Boss Doss.
Boss Doss?
That's my work name.
Yes, sir. Boss Doss and Miss Mom, as we call her.
Yeah.
The wife, she calls you Gary Paul when you get in trouble, right?
That's right.
That's right.
When I'm acting my normal self.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, we want to give a big shout out to Weston behind the scenes. You can follow all of his great work at carmack.media on IG. What we're going to do one day, we're going to turn the camera around. And y'all remember on that show, Home Improvement, whenever Tim would go to the fence and his neighbor, you'd only see like the top half of his head. We're going to do that to Weston one day because y'all have no idea who that is yet, you know. One day we'll turn the camera and that'll be like the running joke. Weston will pop his head up just a little bit. But no, we thank you for him. We thank you for the team. Also, shout out to Scott Bunn. You can follow him at Finding Your Place on YouTube. Please continue to support him. Also, real quick, we want to plug Twins Pizza in Dublin, Virginia. They're at 125 Broad Street in Dublin. Today's show is sponsored by them. So I'm going to get right into it because I'm feeling pretty good today. Dad, there's a quote that you told me, and I live by it, right? Do you remember the famous quote?
Which one?
Which one, right? One of the ones that we tell each other all the time, right?
So what about the girls?
Yes, sir. What is it?
Good girls go to heaven. Bad girls go everywhere.
Bad girls go everywhere. That's what I'm talking about. Good girls go to heaven. Bad girls go anywhere. So with that being said, me and you heard a song last year, and we love it, and we sing it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Weston, can we pull that up right quick? I just want to get the energy right quick. Oh, Lord.
Okay.
Scrub the ground, scrub the ground. Sing it, Dad. Scrub the ground, scrub the ground. Show your watch.
Scrub the ground.
Scrub the ground. Have you ever seen the video, Dad?
No, I hadn't seen a complete video.
Scrub the ground. Goodness gracious.
Oh,
Lord.
gracious.
Scrub the ground. Yeah.
Them were good old days.
Those are the good old days, Dad. You got to scrub the ground. Thank you, Weston. We appreciate you, brother. We had to get the energy right quick. Scrub the damn ground. All right? You know what to do. Scrub the ground don't mean nothing about cleaning. That means scrub the ground. All right? So I want to take a few seconds because recently I was in Blacksburg. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows Virginia Tech, you know, pretty ladies all over there, right?
Right.
I was a little bit disappointed. I'll be honest with you. We went through there. Every girl that I saw looked like she got dressed and rolled down a hill before she went out. Their shoes were dirty. Their jeans are dirty. Their hair was oily. I'm wondering, is it the new look to look as dirty as possible when you come out of the house? I just want to know. Now, I know a lot of people are going to try to come for my neck, this, that, and the third. I can still take your baby mama. So chill, okay? All right? The reason she left you because you broke. All right?
I think they get it from their parents, Derek.
Do they? I don't know.
Trend now, people are pretty sloppy dressers.
Sloppy dressers. And on top of that, there was 1,000 women out that night. 999 of them did not have deodorant on. Every single one of them that passed me, I was like, damn. It was a cloud of funk hovering over these young ladies. And I'm like, what is going on? Do we not have the Bath and Body Works little warm vanilla lotion? I don't know what's going on. Degree up under the arm? No, they use what's that other one?
Dove.
What's going on? Everyone that walked by me smelled like pee and pee. Pits and piss. And I was like, goodness gracious, what is going on tonight? I mean, literally, and these were beautiful women, but it was a cloud that was following them. And then they had the nerve to have their nose stuck up in the air when they look at you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're an old man.
I am old man now, dirty old man.
Yeah.
And their nose was stiff as their washcloth that's in their shower.
It's not like the 70s and 80s, old disco club days.
Disco club days.
Oh, I tell you should have seen them then.
Oh, buddy, was it something?
They were right.
They were right. Yes, they were right. So, Dad, it was a different time.
Yeah.
Completely
Yes, it was.
different time. So, I just want to get into that because these women were dancing all night, literally all night. And I'm like, if you come out here funky, you're going home getting in a clean bed funky. Because ain't none of y'all showering before y'all get in that bed. I'm going to tell you right now. I know it.
Is that a guarantee?
It's a guarantee. I put my next check on it.
Well, they're not showering alone, that's for sure.
Not alone. Not alone. It is a partnership. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what is the deal with this? Because I kept looking at the dudes like, is it the guys that are maybe sweating a little bit?
Yeah.
No, sir. No. It was those funky.
You can just smell it in the air.
Right, it was in the air. I could taste it at one point. It hit my lip and I was like, ooh, ooh. I couldn't take it no more. I don't know what's going on because, sometimes I'll just go to tech and put a backpack on and just walk around because I look young enough. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be like, yeah, where's this hall at? You know where this hall is at? What class? You a sophomore? Yeah, I'm a freshman. You know what I'm saying? Until I turn around, they see a little bald spot, So, I mean, it's cool though. It's cool. But no, I just want to get into that right quick. I don't know what's going on at tech, but y'all got a funk epidemic. Somebody ain't showering, putting deodorant on. I don't know if it's this natural thing everybody's trying to do, but y'all might want to reconsider because I'm telling you right now, ain't nothing worse than you see a little baddie and she funky. Can't do it. Sorry, sweetheart. Sorry. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to let Tonio lead off today.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get to know you a little bit, right? We're going to let the people know why you're the most interesting man in the world because you've done everything, right? So for the people that don't know you.
Very few. I have things I haven't done.
Right. Very few things you have not done. So we wanted to get into that because, like I said, we could sit here for days and talk about all the things you did, but we know some of the stuff, and we want to let the, Steak and Sauce family know about it. So,
Well, Derek knows some of the stuff. So I want to know, where are you originally from?
I'm actually originally from Dublin.
Dublin, all right.
Yeah, I'm actually Dublin. I was actually born in the Pulaski Hospital. So
Gotcha.
the first one and only one in my family born in a hospital.
really,
Yeah, yes,
you were the only child born in a hospital in your
yes, in my family.
That is something. Now, this might sound like a dumb question. I don't mean to piggyback off of you. You are the youngest.
I'm the youngest
of your
yes.
siblings.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
So was your mother having natural births at the house?
Well, no, we just kind of in those days there weren't, when my brother and my sister are quite older than I am.
Right.
So, in those days there wasn't, my sister was born in a snowstorm and she couldn't get to
Out.
the hospital. They couldn't get out. So, she had a neighbor deliver her. So,
Oh my God!
wow.
Natural pain.
yeah,
Right there at home.
yeah.
I never knew that. That's new to me. That's something new. That's amazing. That's crazy.
Derek wants to know, how much trouble did you get into when you was a kid?
Oh, my mother said I would always say till I went to elementary school, till I went to the first grade, that I was the best kid in the world. And I went to first grade and I stayed in trouble from then on. I found there's a lot of reinforcement in numbers.
Yeah.
First grade. So from first grade, after that, all bets are off.
Yeah. I was an instigator pretty bad.
So you could get kid. You were an influencer.
I was an influencer, yes, very much. My mother used to say, you know not to do those things because you get caught for everything you do. Little did she know. I got caught for only fractions.
Fractions of what you You know, it's funny. I was telling Antonio, you told me a story when you were little there in Dublin.
Yeah.
What did you and your buddy do? Y'all dug a hole and poured some gas?
No, I better not say the highway.
Right. No, yeah, we'll leave that out. We don't want no open cases.
My dad had a garden, and under that highway was several. So it was a rocky area, and there was several groundhog nests. And you know, Dad would get to 22 occasionally and kill a groundhog, but because they would get in the garden.
Yeah.
Well, me and a neighbor kid, I don't know, we were maybe 10 or so. We decided we had a cure for the groundhog problem. We took 5 gallons worth of gas we got from the railroad company and went across the road and poured it in those holes. We poured something like a gallon in each hole we could find. Anyway, we came back across. We made a fuse out of a piece of rope.
It's an ID.
And we came back across the railroad track to my house, and you know, it waited a little bit, and all of a sudden, kaboom! And it was like the ground shook. You know, police came with their siren, you know, looking what's going on, you know, but my dad didn't have a groundhog problem the rest of the whole year.
I bet he didn't. Hey, they was torched. Can you imagine groundhogs in there? All of a sudden, bow!
Yeah, it was like Iwo Jima, you know.
Atomic bombs. Now, Dad, how big was this explosion? I mean, pretty big.
It's pretty big. I didn't realize that gasoline can make that big a boom. Yeah. You know, I guess you get those fumes, you know, groundhogs build tunnels and they're intertwined, and I guess those fumes just migrated through that whole thing, and it was just one big, huge bomb.
Oh, my gosh. Now, the road, we won't name the road, right?
No,
we will not do that.
The road.
But did it lift some of the pavement up off the road?
Didn't tear the pavement up, but you could literally, I'm going to see the road rise and fall. You know.
Oh, God.
So it's an interesting thing.
It was interesting.
You know, so here we were, hiding, knowing we were going to go to jail.
Right.
Oh, goodness.
So the police, fire department,
I never did see the fire department,
Okay.
but the police came kind of riding up and down the road wondering what was going on.
right.
You know?
Goodness gracious, Dad, that's hilarious. You said them fumes.
In those days too, the road, there was no 81, so it was the main north-south.
So that narrows
route.
it down a little bit. There was no 81 back then, so that what road that lived. You know, so, but that's crazy. So was there anyone home?
Derek, I cannot remember if anybody was there. I'm sure my mom and brother and sister were still there, you know.
I guarantee you it shook the house.
Oh, yes. But, you know, they were used to the house shaking because we were right next to the railroad track.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. That's man, that's crazy. So I'm sorry. I'm jumping on his toes.
What kind of jobs did you have as a young man?
As a young man, I worked in a department store when I was in high school. Worked in a Rose's department store in Pulaski and loved every minute of it. It was a good way to meet girls.
All right.
And in them days, that Rose's department store was the only department store like between Roanoke and Bristol.
Really?
So it stayed packed with customers. You know,
Gotcha.
It came from West Virginia and Galax and everywhere.
So you got a little bit of everything in there.
It was a pretty busy place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm sure
it was fun.
Yeah, handsome young man like yourself was in there, and I'm sure that you were helping everybody find what they needed, right?
I sure did.
I sure did. Yes, sir. Yes,
Tried to.
Yes, sir. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I wanted to back up 1 second. When me and you were talking before, you had mentioned when you were a little bit younger, you had a paper route.
Right.
Right.
Roanoke Times paper route.
Roanoke Times paper route. How was that?
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. Interesting, too.
Right.
I had to, it was neat, I've been in sales my whole life, just about, other than my Air Force career. So I guess that was the beginning of my sales career.
Right. So, can you go through with us? Where would you pick up the papers from a location? You had a certain route.
I picked the papers up, believe it or not, at the police department. That's where they were dropped off.
Okay.
And if the weather got real bad, I'd take my mother's car and go deliver papers.
And she didn't even know.
Yeah, she knew.
Okay.
And it was different time.
Right.
Different time. I remember one police chief, which is all we had in the town. And he saw me one time and he said, "You better be careful out there. You're not supposed to be doing that." That's kind of time it was.
Right.
It was
a little slap
world.
on the wrist. Not like, hey, we're going to, arrest you and book you on.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure back then, kids like me and Tonio, even when we were young, we rode our bikes everywhere in Christiansburg through the summer. And we had a blast.
I used to go to the lake, go to Pulaski, go to Radford. Everywhere on a bicycle.
Right. A little bit more freedom. I don't think kids do it as much now because of the way the world is, but I really wish that they could, because it really helps you build character. It helps you build friendships. You get out, you socialize, and kids these days, I feel like there's too many dangers for them to be out like, "Hey, Mom, I'm riding my bike to Blacksburg." What?
Yeah.
Can't do it, know? So that's sad a little bit, So you was out riding around, delivering papers. Did you ever have a funny story when you were delivering papers? And
the only dog bite I ever had in my whole life was delivering papers.
Tell us about that.
And it was a dog about a foot long, a little bitty dog that I didn't even know was there, and I was riding a bicycle, and he got me on the ankle. I never did bark, never anything. He just, next thing I know, he was hanging on to me.
Good. He's hanging off you. That's crazy. What'd you do?
Because normally in those days, dogs run loose and stuff, and I had regular dogs that would kind of follow me for a while on my route. It was just a
daily thing.
It's just a daily thing.
But that day you got bit. When you got bit, what'd you do?
Oh God, Derek, I can't remember. It's like smacked him. Right. Get away from me. What are you doing?
Yeah. Got him off you. Yeah. I can see you now riding, screaming with that dog on your ankle.
I mean, he was like the red bear, and he come out of the sun. Right. Didn't know he was there.
He dropped in on you. Yeah. Had you in the sight. Oh man. So when did you start to realize that your IQ level was so vast, and when did you start playing piano and getting into
very young, a young age?
Okay,
was I could probably 6 or 7.
Wow,
pretty young.
Wow, and was that something that maybe one of your parents had introduced you to, or did you just take that upon yourself?
I kind of took it up myself, actually, Derek.
Okay,
yeah,
that's awesome,
and I enjoyed it for a while. Then I got the male problem.
Right.
It was more fun to get out, chase girls kind of thing.
It's always fun. Good girls go to heaven, bad girls go everywhere. Okay. So when did you start having a passion for dancing? Let's get into that, because a lot of people don't know that you were like a world-class dancer.
I wasn't. I wouldn't say world-class. I was good enough that I did get invited one time to go to New York, and
that's amazing.
That was I didn't go, but
right. Now, what forms of dance were you into back then?
That was basically tap in those days.
Okay, that's amazing. So, playing the piano, tap dancing. I know you had a love for cars at a young age, because before y'all had I
always loved cars.
The engine dollies to pull them out.
Yeah.
Y'all were stringing chains up in a tree, pulling engines out.
Big maple tree in front of the house.
Yeah. Fast cars.
Yeah. Well, I was a poor kid, so we weren't They weren't real fast, but I tried to make them as fast as we could.
Yes, sir. And that passion is carried on because you still have some classic cars right now.
I love cars, Derek.
Right.
Cars, airplane, anything that goes fast.
Anything goes fast.
Motorcycles, the whole works.
Right. So, out of high school, did you know immediately that you wanted to enlist into the Air Force?
Not immediately. Probably pretty quickly, though, within the first few months.
Okay.
I kind of always had a passion for wanting to see the world.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And why did you pick the Air Force?
Well, I always had a love for aircraft, you know.
I was going to get into that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I guess that's what drug me that way.
Right. And a lot of people don't know this, but you took it upon yourself in your life to become a licensed pilot.
Oh, no, son, I never quite got my license, but I had enough hours.
Yeah, and the fact that's what I mean. You were going through the process, you know, because that was your passion, right?
I loved flying,
Right.
Too.
Yeah. So, when you enlisted into the Air Force, what was your MOS? What was your job?
I was in tactical intelligence.
Ooh,
basically.
okay,
It's a good way to put it.
gotcha.
It was called, you studied the radio identification type career.
Gotcha.
It was amazing in 1970 how much you could know about the enemy through intelligence.
Intelligence drives the battlefield.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I remember you being in San Antonio, right?
Right. San Antonio, we sat around with the what you always laugh about, the Diddy Bop.
The Diddy Bop. Beep, 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 beep. The Diddy Bops. That's what we call them. Yeah.
We get the I won't say the countries. They were tapes that came out of an embassy in a country that monitored a certain area of the enemy world, and all that radio noise was put on what was called wideband tape.
Wideband. Okay.
Wideband. It was sent out in diplomatic pouches, and it was brought to us. I hope I'm not saying anything that's still classified.
Right. Yeah. Hey, listen, don't come after us. We're just sharing information, okay? We know y'all listening.
They don't do this anymore, I'm sure. But
yeah.
It was brought to us, and the Diddy Bops that you always laughed about, the guys that sat around, listen to all that stuff. They transcribed it, and we put it into the computer system.
Right. And
I was an analyst.
Wow.
I analyzed intelligence.
Wow. And me and you laugh because when you tell me the story of the Diddy Bops, I would always laugh because I imagine a room full of these guys with headphones on, and for hours a day they're listening to beep, 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 beep.
Every one of these guys had they were smart kids, but they all had a screw loose.
Screw loose, yeah, I'm sure after listening to that. Yeah.
They would do strange things.
Yeah. I say if you listen to beeps 8 hours a day, you might, and I can imagine them changing out their shifts and then walking down the road like, beep, 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 beep. Like I feel like everything they did was in the cadence of those beeps, and that's why we call them Diddy Bops, Yeah. So in San Antonio, you had a best friend, right?
Right.
And after y'all get done with training, y'all would go over and go swim and go holler at the ladies and things like that. What was his name?
Jose Aragon.
Jose Aragon.
Jose Aragon. He was Castilian. He'd like to say, don't call him Spanish, don't call him Mexican. He's Castilian.
Castilian, okay.
And I did meet some of his relatives, so he really was Castilian. But one of the smartest people I ever knew.
Really?
Really, yeah.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he would always credit it to the nuns that raised him, that he went through school. He said, if you didn't know it, they would beat it into you.
Back in those days. And did you guys continue to serve with each other after training in San Antonio? Because you went over to, I forget the base name, during...
when I went to Vietnam.
Vietnam, yeah.
I was in a base called Son Tra, which was actually a South Vietnamese naval base.
Wow.
But our outfit was there because our site was located on top of a mountain on their base.
Wow.
So,
And that
it was about 7 miles from Da Nang.
Da Nang, okay. And I remember when we were talking, you said that one morning you guys were going to either get breakfast or y'all were having coffee or something.
No, was going to get breakfast. You talking about the F4?
The F4.
Yeah, how about that? We were going to get breakfast. Like I said, we were on top of a mountain. And somebody said, look. And we turned around and looked, and there was an F4 just casually gliding down to the waters. Because splash. It's just splashed right there. Probably not a quarter mile from where we were.
Wow. That had to be something to see.
You know, we didn't see any chutes, so I'm sure the pilot had already ejected right. A lot further upshore, but yeah,
and
watch it just ditch.
Just crashed right there. And everybody run over there?
Taxpayers. Well, no, we couldn't. It was far enough. We were on top of the mountain.
Gotcha.
There was nobody there.
Right. Wow.
Watch it, you know, millions of dollars just sink to the bottom of the South China Sea.
Right. Like you said, the taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah.
You know, so what were all the places and bases that you were able to go to while you served? And thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you.
How many years did you serve?
I served for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I came back after Vietnam. I was smuggled in the middle of the night to Thailand.
Okay.
The Thai government had a quota on how many U.S. troops could be in the country.
Wow.
So if they wanted to bring somebody above that, they smuggled you in the middle of the night. So
right.
I came in on a C-130.
C-130 rolling down the strip.
Yeah, yes. You've been there, had you?
Yeah, I have. I've been on them C-130s.
Sitting on those little metal seats.
Them little metal seats.
With you strapped in, yeah.
Everybody's getting sick and sweating because the cabin's not pressurized on a C-130.
Not pressurized, not heated, not cooled, not anything.
Not nothing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand when you're on that C-130.
You're closed in. It's like, you know, you're in a closet, hot
literally.
Closet.
And I remember one time we were flying into Iraq, full battle rattle. You know, I'm geared up. Everybody's got their plates on, everything. And I'm nervous. I'm 19. Yeah. And I had just seen Tonio at the airport. Like, they took me to the airport. And, you know, before I flew out and everything. And at that time, they said, hey, we got a combat drop in. So for people who don't know what that is, on that C-130, that pilot is dropping that big plane. And it literally feels like it's just falling out of the sky.
They can drop those transports out of the sky, right.
Fast. Yeah. And that's so I'm guessing the enemy can't get a bead on you, you know.
Exactly.
But what it does to the passengers on the inside is make you
it doesn't matter.
Terribly sick.
Right.
And there was a guy laying on me and he was going, oh, I ain't going to make it. And I was elbowing. I said, sit up. I said, we all sick. Now sit up. And he was going, and it literally drove me crazy because I could not get him to sit up. It was my buddy. Yeah. And I gave him a little plastic bag and he got sick. Mm-hmm. Well, for anybody that's like me, when you start to smell somebody that got sick, it makes you sick.
It smells just awful.
Oh, it's awful. So we're on this hot plane sweating, dropping hundreds of feet at a time. He's puking. I'm madder than hell, you know, just wanted, you know, and I ain't even put a boot in the sand yet. And I'm already like, God, no, you know, so we landed there in Kuwait and we got off and, you know, Kuwait feels like somebody put an air dryer right in front of your face.
Yeah.
And it was 145 degrees some days. And I mean, you know, of course, Kuwait's a green zone. We only landed there for a little bit before we pushed out to Baghdad, but that's a story for another time. But
I remember coming into Da Nang from Saigon on the back of that C-130, you know, and it's, like you said, it's so hot.
It's so hot.
So hot. And they landed.
Right.
You can't see anything. And he drops that back door and you get off.
Yep.
And you look around and you think, boy, this is a bad place.
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, everything's defoliated. And, you know, there's, at that time, F4s sitting under concrete bunkers, you know.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You could tell this, you know, that some mean stuff goes on
Mean
here.
stuff. Hey, they was hey, listen, they was really getting it in. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
This ain't like, you know, Tilo and Jordan when the level starts and you're running trying to, you know, get in good position. No, it starts right then.
You're right.
And
right.
you look out and you already know they're getting it in over here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's too late to say you want to go home.
No, there is no going home.
There is no going home. Yeah,
365 days later, baby.
yeah, you can go home. Fastest way to go home is to complete that tour, right?
Right, exactly.
Golly.
Yeah.
So what made you want to complete your service right there and get back out into the civilian world and start your career there?
I don't know. It's just, you know, when you know how your mind goes when you're young. Sometimes you don't think straight.
I got you.
You know?
Yes. I got you. Yeah. So when you made that transition from being in the Air Force, when you came home, did you already kind of have it mapped out to what you wanted to do? And this is leading us up into the, you know, your second big
Not
career.
at all, son.
Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No. And it was a different time. A Vietnam veteran in 1973 was not the most popular thing in the world.
No, no.
And the only jobs that were, because I was high school educated, and what good was the intelligence business in the private world
Right,
at the time, and there was nothing for me, you know,
right,
just bottom level jobs.
right.
So it was kind of disheartening. So I said, well, I'm going to use my GI Bill. And I started going to school, you know.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So going to school using the GI Bill at this time.
And working as a bartender at night.
Yeah. I was going to get it. How was that?
It was good days.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good days. It's hard. You look back on it, you're piss poor, you know.
Right.
You don't have a pot to pee in, as they say.
Pot to be a window to throw it out of, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was enjoyable. You know, I met my wife to be, and
Yes.
we did the sinful thing. We lived together, which was not a popular thing to do in those days.
Or they still call it shacking up.
Shacking up.
My granny
yeah.
still says it. Shout out to
Shacking
Granny.
up.
Shacking up. No, but I think that sometimes it is a good thing because people have certain pet peeves
Right.
about how they live. And you will not know those until you
start
cohabitate.
living. Right. Exactly.
Yes.
I couldn't imagine not doing it, Derek.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. And
I couldn't
then
imagine.
one day just deciding to merge the two lifestyles. Like, I want to know if you clip your toenails and don't clean them up.
Yeah.
You know, I want to know if, you know, if you have certain habits, that way I can see them and be like, okay, you know,
Right.
I can handle that.
It's kind of like the difference between buying a new car and buying a used car. Right. You know?
Yeah.
A new car, you know where it's come from.
Used car might have had 3 owners, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. You don't know how it's been treated.
Right. That's true. I never thought about it like that, Dad. So Mom says that you had a very, very high IQ.
That's what she says, yeah.
Okay.
She's a school person. I don't know. You
Okay.
know.
All right. So when did you start transitioning from going to school, working as a bartender at night into your career with Budweiser?
Okay. Believe it or not, I did not apply for the job. I had the owner of the company came to me and asked me if I would like to come to work for him.
Okay.
And how he had met me is him and his wife came to the club where I bartended.
All right.
And I don't know what he saw in me, but he said, I'd like for you to come to work for me. And I went to work for him. He gave me the keys. I never filled out an application. On Friday, he gave me the keys, showed me how the alarm system worked, and said, I'll see you Monday morning. And that was how we started.
That was a lot of trust.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was that kind of person.
Wow. That was a lot of
that
trust.
kind of person. He wasn't thin, but he had been mayor of Pulaski.
Wow.
And one of the finest people I ever met in my life, Derek. Great guy.
Great guy. Now, was this the guy that had the different dogs? What were they, the Dobermans?
He was a Doberman man. Yes,
He was a Doberman man.
Yes.
Okay.
I always had Doberman dogs.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember
And
the guy
that was his dog that the rats drove crazy in the building. Yeah. He would stay there at night, and the rats, I guess, crawling around, and they were huge because there was a creek nearby.
Right.
And they would get up in the steel beams and crawl around the building,
And that Doberman would go nuts.
Yeah, he went nuts. He drove him crazy.
Trying to get to those rats. That's crazy. So you started this new career. He handed you the keys.
Right.
When did you start getting into the fun stuff with delivering?
Oh, immediately.
Immediately. And that's it. Okay.
Only 6 people in the whole company, and the son and me and 3 others, and it was a great life. It was perfect for me because I'm a people person.
Right.
And I also didn't like supervision.
Right.
So you're just given a key, a truckload of beer, and you're sent out on a route and go out and deal with it,
Right.
And you learn how to deal with customers so that they come in all shapes and sizes, colors and everything else,
Right.
And you just learn you have to adapt.
Right. Right. And I'm sure delivering this beer to a college town.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure it had its times, right?
Right. I can tell you a story about the sales manager. I always said about when the owner interviewed him and offered him a job, and said, I'm going to give you a truckload of Budweiser and I'm going to send you to college town, and he said, and it's $600, right?
Right.
Which was a lot of money. And he said, I'm sorry, sir, but I don't have $600 to pay you. And he said, no, I'm going to pay you to go do it. He thought he had to pay to work.
Right. No, sir, I'm going to pay you to go do it. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So you told me a story one time about delivering some beer, and there was this huge man. I think he played football or something, and he could carry those kegs like Coke cans.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Thor Kritzky was his name. He was a middle linebacker for Tech.
Yeah.
And, I heard that, that was back, who was the coach in? I can't remember.
I can't remember back then.
But, the coach would actually pull him out of practice and stuff because he wanted to hurt people. Practice.
He was another
But we would take a hand truck and pull the kegs upstairs. It was at the top of the stairs, if you know where the top of the stairs is.
Tots
in the back. Tots, yeah. He knows, doesn't he?
That's where them funkies were. Yeah. Them girls I was talking about in the beginning without deodorant, they was all
better not talk about them in front of Thor. But actually, when he got out of Tech, he bought the place, and he was the owner of the place, and we were taking kegs up, and he said, get out of the way one day. He was at the bottom of the set, and it was almost 2 stories up, and he just grabbed one in each hand and walked up them damn steps with him. 160 pounds in each hand.
Right.
And walked up and said, "Now that was a man.
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 He was a man."
Yeah.
Yeah. I laugh because for the longest time I didn't know that they serve food at Bots.
Yeah, at the bottom.
At the bottom, yeah.
Bottom of the stairs, right?
Yeah, bottom of the stairs.
So everybody was telling me that I needed to go there and try some of their food and their wings because they're supposedly delicious. So all these years we've known about Tots.
Yeah.
We didn't know about Bots. And I guess I should have.
I don't think they had Bots in my day.
They didn't have Bots?
They
Okay.
didn't have Bots in my day.
Okay. But they were definitely at the top of the stairs stinking. Okay. It literally looked like they went to the areas where people spill beer and sweat and whatever and rolled in it
Yeah,
and
it's a college bar,
right. Yeah. You know,
it's
you're
not there.
right.
Yes.
I saw a guy in the corner, Dad. He was drinking people's beers that they left on the table.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't doubt that a bit.
I looked over and I'm like, oh my gosh. So he's downing these beers, and I guess he had a few, and he caught me from across the room. We made eye contact. He screamed so loud I could hear him over the music. And he ran, you know those steps out of those double doors that go out to the patio?
Right.
He did a Power Ranger jump kick and did his arms like this, and he hit somebody. I don't know who he hit, but he jumped from the top of those stairs and kicked somebody on the bottom.
Really?
I'm kidding.
Oh, you name it. I've seen him in 7-Eleven peeing in the corner. Back in the days, I've seen him do it. You wouldn't believe it.
Right. Anything, right?
Yeah. I remember a rugby party. We sponsored a rugby club, and they had a rugby party. And the things that were, and it was in the middle of the day, and the things that were going on outside that rugby party on the grass and the hillsides and stuff, it was, well,
Something to see.
you had something to see.
Something to see. Like you say, no regrets, right?
No regrets.
No regrets. We get one chance at this Oregon Trail. So
One go around, you better make the most of
you
it.
better make the most of it.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir. So when did you get into the management level with Budweiser?
Actually, I was probably a route supervisor pretty early in my career, I'd say after 6 years or so.
Wow.
I became a route supervisor, and that was in Blacksburg. It was one of them, one of the territories,
Right.
and it was fun, Derek.
Yeah.
It was fun. People ask me, so well, why did you finish college? And I said, well, I was just making too much money, to tell you the truth, and having too much fun.
Having too much fun. Hey, that's never a problem.
Yeah,
Making too much money and having too much fun? No. No, that's never a problem, you know?
Yeah.
And the dynamics of you and Mom at this time, right? So I wanted to get into that a little bit because early on, you guys decided to start investing into the stock market.
Right.
Okay. And you guys had a very mapped out, intricate plan.
We did have a good plan.
Can you talk about that?
Plan. Well, at the time in Pulaski County Schools, a school teacher could take a certain amount of their money and they didn't pay taxes on it. It was tax-free money if it went into investments.
Okay.
Such as IRAs or et cetera. You know, they didn't have 401ks then.
Okay.
So we just started doing the maximum amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we always did. And you know, like I said, I made good money, but she made good money. So we didn't need it.
Right.
And we were not able to have children for medical reasons. So
And
we
doing
just
that,
stuck with it.
how long did you guys do this?
God, Derek, I don't know, 30, 35 years.
35 years.
Yeah. Right. Along through our working career. Yeah.
Right. And did you kind of know that making those sacrifices, right? Because you as the man, obviously you said, hey, I made enough to where I could take care of everything. That way we could put a larger portion of her earned income into investments. So you guys had based your living around making those.
Right. And we live good.
Yes.
Yeah. We didn't do it without anything.
I want to be like you when I get older.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was, you have to be in stocks for a long time when
Right.
you're young.
Right.
You
So,
have to remember it's a long-term thing. Don't get rattled by things like what's going on now.
right.
It's a normal period in the long run.
Right. In the
You know,
cycle.
I went to school for economics, so this stuff kind of come natural to me. You know?
Right. So when I met you years ago, one of the first things we talked about is getting a start into investments. And most of the stuff that I know I learned from you.
Right.
And you got me on the right
I
path.
got you going.
You
Right.
got me connected with the right people. and I started to invest a little bit late in life at my age, but it's better late than never.
Better late than never.
So to all the young people that are watching this, getting those life insurance policies as high as they can while they're in good health.
Right.
Contributing to their 401k if their employer provides it, and maxing. Right. If they match 3%, right. And also getting involved with mutual funds and having a diverse portfolio is what you told me.
Mutual funds, bonds, international stocks, international funds, etc. But you need an advisor. You need someone tracking it, because as an individual, you don't have expertise and you don't have the time to do that.
Right. Which is why you got me in touch with who you did, so that they can manage that for me.
Right. Exactly.
And I thank you for that, because me and Antonio always talk about leaving a legacy, leaving, something that may not be in our lifetime, but in our kids' lifetime.
Right.
And the way that you and Mom had kind of mapped that thing out, of course, you guys didn't know how beneficial it would be at, because the market vitality, right? That's what they call it.
Exactly.
So we didn't know the ups and downs of it. But like you said, Derek, you always continue to contribute no matter what the market's doing, right?
Exactly. Actually, when it's down is even better time.
Right. Time to buy.
It's called income averaging is what that term is called. You're buying more stocks at a lower cost. So actually, in the long run, you come out ahead.
Right. And the days that we would sit down and Dad broke out his portfolio, I think I was eating some popcorn or something, and he started to flip through the pages, Tony, on his portfolio, and I was seeing some of the figures. I choked. I choked on the popcorn. I did. I said, goodness gracious. And Dad told me, said, listen, son, this is a long-term game, right? And I had to realize that this is not a get-rich-quick thing. This is a 30-year thing. And when I realized that, I said, okay, I'm in it for the long haul, because they don't teach you these things in school.
No,
not unless you
these things.
Specifically study one of those degree plans.
Right.
I feel like they should teach kids about not going over a 30% usage on a credit card.
Remember the old days when in my young days, the women had home economics, and that's where in high school, they actually had a class that taught them how to do home economics.
Okay.
I don't even know whether they have anything like that now. But
I think the last that me and Antonio saw it was in 8th grade at Christiansburg Middle. We had to sew.
Right.
We had to bake something.
Right.
We had to make some things, and we were graded on it. I remember I made this football, and the laces on the top look like an S.
Right.
So I think I got a C on the project. I did my best, I'm not
you're pretty damn good cook too, Derek.
I'm a daggone good cook, So I think I got a C in that class, but I did enjoy it, because, and I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but I think that I grew up seeing so many men in my family who not only made sure that the household was taken care of, paying bills, but they also cooked, prepared meals for their family, made sure the house was clean. They did the yard work. They did the maintenance on the vehicles. They did the heavy lifting, not saying, Granny, not saying you didn't. But what I saw was examples of men who they had several different lanes that they were responsible for. Home responsibility. So I don't think there's anything wrong, young men, if you're listening, learn how to clean the house. Learn how to do the laundry, learn how to manage, some of the finances. If your wife's better at it, that's okay too.
That's okay.
That is perfectly fine. But learning how to do those things will take a load off of your woman as well, because she doesn't feel like she has to do everything, right? If some nights you can cook, that takes a load off people, because I didn't realize how much effort goes into cooking as you get older. right?
Right.
It's a lot of effort.
Yeah. Right.
It is a lot of effort to prepare a meal for somebody and to prepare it in a way that you know they're going to enjoy it. That takes love. That takes a lot of things that go into that.
Right.
So for everybody in my life who's ever prepared a meal for me, thank you. I love you. All right. It really is a great thing. But what do you say was the hardest thing about being in the role at Budweiser where you're managing people, where you had to fire people, where you had to mentor people?
Right.
What was the hardest?
You know, those are the things that I still miss about, you know, being retired.
Right.
I miss the young people.
Right.
I miss the teaching, the little things you do as you come along to give, you know.
Right.
As far as hiring and firing, I didn't mind firing, you know, because I always had a good reason for it.
Right.
You know, people will give you a good reason for that. Hiring is another thing because it's kind of like no matter how you prepare, no matter what you look at, no matter what you read or hear, and no matter during the interview or whatever, you really don't know how it's going to turn out.
You don't.
You know, I have hired people that in the back of my mind, I think, well, this person is not going. I kind of, you know, I have questions about it.
Right.
They end up being a star. You know, and I've had people that I hired and say, "Oh, I got a star here." You know, I got a star here, and the next thing you know, you got to let them go.
Let them go.
So it's funny. Maybe I just never had the knack for it. You know.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I'm sure that it is difficult when you were in those roles because you're a very likable person.
Right. Well,
And
I try to,
you're a very
exactly.
likable person.
Yeah.
People gravitate
You know,
towards
that's
you.
the salesman in me.
Right.
I knew,
Yeah. Which that
People
let me
say, say, how do you just talk to anybody? And I say, well, you know, when your meal depends on being able to communicate and get people to like you, you learn pretty quick.
You learn pretty quick. Dad's got a pretty good mouthpiece on him, you know. Yeah, that lets you know how you were so slick back in the day, you know. So, what advice would you give if you could look back at 20-year-old Gary?
Oh, at 20 years old,
What would you tell him?
I wish I was 20, knowing what I know now, Derek. You know, you've heard that statement a million times.
You're right.
But you just have to go through life's experiences to learn.
You're right.
Know? And always learning and trying anything. You know, and knowing that lots of times you're going to fail.
Right.
But it's the only way you could succeed.
It's by failing.
Is by, you have to fail to succeed.
You're right. And I'm glad that you said that because there's been so many times where, and I couldn't do this without my team. Right. Exactly. These guys that are here, exactly. I can't do this without them or a team. And I'm not the smartest person on my team.
Right.
Which is
you don't want to be.
I don't want to be.
You don't
which
want
is
to be.
Which is the greatest thing. You know, I think God has blessed us individually with talents, and we're using our talents and we're putting it together. And me and Tonio have done everything together. He's been there when I joined the military. He was there when I opened my first business. He was my manager. We have literally, and I don't mean to, golly.
Yeah, I know.
We've literally done so much, and you can get so hard on yourself sometimes because certain stuff doesn't work out. But like you said, the only way that we can get to here to where me and Tonio don't have to worry about employees, we don't have to worry about things, we can let our talent shine is by failing in other areas.
Right.
Exactly. To where we get to something that we're really good at.
And remember, who you associate with, your friends, are a reflection. You're a reflection on them. They're a reflection on you.
That's true.
And always surround yourself with the best people you can.
Right.
You know, I used to quote the old Henry Ford statement. You know, Henry Ford would say, somebody would ask him a question, and he said, "I don't know the answer, but I have somebody that works for me that I guarantee does." So, that was always my theory in management, was to surround people that were smarter and better than I was at doing the job.
You have to.
You have to. Because if they aren't, my owner one time, I asked him a question about something. He said, "Why are you asking me? If I knew the answer to the question, I wouldn't need you." So
right.
That you got to remember that.
You got to remember,
He had me to answer questions he couldn't.
Right. And he's the big guy.
He's the big boss.
You know? But that's how it works.
That's how it works.
Surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you, that bring a different element to the table. The reason why this thing works is because Weston brings a different element than Antonio. Antonio brings a different element than I do. Right. And I bring a different element. But when you put all those together, we got a freight train.
You've been on the battlefield. You know how much you depend on
your left and your right.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they don't do their job, they let not only themselves down, they let you down too.
Right. Cover your sector fire.
Right, exactly. And vice versa for you.
Yeah. And for advice for young men, and Weston, we doing okay on time? Okay. I separated a different segment because there's so much knowledge and wealth of knowledge that me and you talk about, right? And most of it surrounds around things that me and Antonio talk about, like science, and history, and things like that. Before I get into that right quick, what advice would you give to the young generation right now, the way the world is?
Derek, the way the world is I think a lot of it comes down to manners.
Okay.
Respect for the other person and their other person's view.
Right.
You are not the center of the universe. You never will be the center of the universe. Realize that we're all here for a very extremely short time.
Right.
And we need each other.
Yes.
We need to depend on each other.
Yes.
I see just so much general rudeness that I don't think used to exist. And I know it is a sign of our times. It's the fast-paced world. It's the connected world, right, with the internet and everything. It's just so much different, Derek.
Yeah, the internet's a monster.
The internet's a monster, and I mean, it has changed human culture.
It has. Antonio said that.
It's changed human culture in a way that nothing has maybe since fire,
Right.
And we need to realize that.
Right.
Rather than get all tied up in it.
Right. And you're right. Me and you talking, Antonio tells people, hey, unplug every now and then.
Right, exactly.
Because we get fed, not just spiritually, you get fed emotionally. You get, all these different things that we take in from our phone can make you feel like you're not in a good place in life because you're watching someone else who is setting up a prop for you to see. You don't see their failures.
Right.
You don't see their hardships or the arguments they had with their significant other, but they're promoting this healthy lifestyle and a perfect marriage.
Right.
So I think a lot of people, if you don't know how to discern and how to, kind of watch stuff but not internalize it, these phones, the connection that we have, it's meant to be a tool.
Right. It's meant to be a tool. It started out as a tool. The internet started out as science to science, scientist to scientist communication, scientist to the Department of Defense. That's how how situations started out. It didn't get big. People are going to maybe laugh at me for saying this, but pornography is what created the general internet as we saw it, commercialization.
Right. And now it's a damn smorgasbord.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You can get on there and type in Tasty Blacks, plug Tasty Blacks, send me a check, Tasty Blacks. You can get on there and plug in slap me with jelly.
Right, exactly.
And it's going to bring up somebody getting slapped with jelly.
You know, and all these isms, I call them the isms that people get tied up in, you know, fascism, racism, you know, Nazism. It's all crap.
Crap.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just all crap.
Right. Yeah.
You got to realize that it's just all crap.
It's all crap. And it's being the propaganda.
Right. Propaganda. Propaganda is an interesting subject in itself.
It is.
Right.
Yes.
And people who can use it. And we know of past politicians, past leaders, present politicians, present leaders that use those kind of things.
Yes.
And it's not a reflection of them as much as it is the people who believe them.
Right. Yes. And I always try to surround myself with people that I can learn stuff from. So I love how, like Tonio, you're not going to sway him one way or the other, right?
Right.
He's very concrete in his beliefs.
Right. Which that's good.
It's good.
That's good.
You would literally have to show him, right? Show me. Right? I joke with him a lot. I'm not as far fetched as what I may talk about the flat earth and all these things, which we'll get into in a second. But like you said, the access and things that young kids have to the world now, even guys, me and Tonio's age, we did not have that. It took 30 minutes to get on a Hewlett Packard that weighed 500 pounds.
Right, exactly.
Make sure my mom didn't pick up the house phone because it cut my connection.
Dialed up.
Right? Dial up. Then Diddy bops. And try to get on AOL with our friends. And that was huge for us. You know? Like I said, back in the day, it took 30 minutes for me to upload a titty. 30 minutes.
Derek, I used to go up to an old lady who lived up the street just to watch color television. I mean, we didn't have color television.
Right. You know, and now within seconds, I can get on my phone and pull up anything, you know? So, I mean, my granddad, rest in peace, he was totally fascinated, and he always called it a security risk with his hand. Now, Derek, that's a security risk. I would show him on my phone. We'd get on live, and I would show him famous people that we could watch, and they were live wherever they were at, Los Angeles, Nebraska, Chicago. And he'd tell me, Derek, how can we watch these people in their home? He said, if we can watch them, who else can watch them?
Right, exactly.
He would tell me, he said, this is a security risk.
Right.
You shouldn't be able to see some of these people.
Yeah.
And I think it helps the Hollywood thing and kind of hurts at the same time. When you were growing up, the only way that you would see these people was on TV.
Right, exactly. My brother and sister grew up, didn't have TV.
Didn't have TV, right?
My brother talks about my dad was section foreman for Norfolk and Western Railway.
Okay.
They were in Glade Springs, which is just a little town.
Right.
Right. The railroad went through there. The railroad company had their own electricity, right, for controlling their switches and et cetera.
Okay.
They had their own electrical system. They lived over top of the train station. They had electricity. They were the only ones in Glade Spring that had electricity.
Wow.
So the neighbors would come over to listen to the radio because my parents had a radio and listen to Hitler speak in Germany.
And broadcast
His speech. The broadcast came in on shortwave on the radio, and the neighbors would come over to listen to Hitler. See, they didn't have radios or electricity or anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, when he would broadcast, was there a translation, or was he broadcasting?
He was broadcasting in German, but
in German, right.
The fire and the fury he put behind it.
Right.
You know, English people could even tell what he was saying.
Right. Know? Yeah. That's crazy.
That's wild.
That's wild.
That's wild.
That's really wild. If he be on the street right now, we'd whip his ass. Hitler was
he'd be a dead man.
5'4".
I'd like to do to him the same thing I like to do to Putin.
Right,
Just walk up to him and just put a gun to his head and blow his head. And I don't consider myself a violent person.
Right.
You know.
Somebody, hey, we spin the block on him, wouldn't we?
Right.
Hey,
Exactly.
we spin twice.
I mean, some people just don't belong on the planet.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I hate to say it, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't believe in evil, you know.
Yeah, it's bad. Like I said, if we had that guy back here right now and he was on the street corner trying to do all this stuff, I'd get out my car. I bet every dime that I have, if you brought Hitler back right now and put him out in this parking lot, I'd wax his ass right out here in this parking lot right now.
Right, exactly.
He wouldn't have nothing for me.
No.
Not a thing. I'd beat the sweat off him.
Yeah.
You know? And that just shows you, like me and Antonio talk about, how influential and how powerful somebody can be.
They can become big, yes.
When you have a platform and you can reach people. Nobody feared him because of his stature. They feared him because of his reach.
Right, exactly.
His influence.
Exactly. And he was very brilliant at it.
Very brilliant. I'm not,
very brilliant.
But, you know.
But, you know, like I say, the prisons are full of smart people.
You always tell me that. Yeah. So, getting into some of the cool stuff, I would say, that we talk about, me and Antonio have been arguing for years about the concept, and I know that out of everybody in this world, you'll be able to tell me this because you have broken down to me Albert Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, which was used to formulate the atom bomb. Right. You have told me about space travel, the speed of light.
Right. 186,000 miles per second.
186,000 miles per second is the speed of light, ladies and gentlemen. So write it down.
That's to any observer.
From
any location moving at any speed or doing anything, it's still going to appear to be 186,000 miles per second. Is there wind on the moon? Is there a blowing current of wind that crosses the moon's surface? No, the moon has no atmosphere.
Can you say that again, please?
I heard what he said.
The moon has no atmosphere.
The moon has no atmosphere.
Right.
On it, around it?
Around it, no.
So that's safe to say that flag that Neil Armstrong put down in that Hollywood studio that was flapping.
Well, the flag was aluminum, so it was metal moving from where he put it in the ground, you know.
Right. But not because
of the wind. No, there wasn't. No.
I love Tonio to death, but I knew you would be the only person.
I'm not saying anything.
He's so mad right now he can fight.
I'm not mad at all.
Yeah, he is.
I still don't believe it.
See? Smartest man in the world. He don't believe it. I'm telling you right now, he made a bet one time with my dad.
Yeah.
And it was time for Tonio to pay up. My dad said, call him. You know, my dad's all hyped because the football
I was busy
game.
with my kids.
He had his kid. We called him, hey, where's that money? He turned into Putin. He said, I'll have all y'all wiped out. You don't call me when I got my son talking about money that I owe you. He said, I'll pay you when I get ready. Then he drove by my house on Tanglewood, balled the money up, threw it at me. Pulled off.
I remember you telling me that. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. Balled the money up, threw it on my chest, and took off. So,
well, you got your money, did you?
Yeah. For you to say that there's no atmosphere, we have been discussing this for a long time because we just wanted to know.
Now there is atmosphere on Mars. It's very thin, but it.
And can you go into a little bit about?
Well, the moon
how expansive because you told me any star that we're looking at is a dead star.
You have to remember, instead of calling it space, it's actually space-time.
Space-time.
And when you look out from the Earth, you are not only looking into space, you are looking back in time. anything you see is not in reality was the way it was,
Right.
not the way it is.
So it's changed already.
It's changed already. There's stars you're probably looking at that don't exist there anymore.
And we
in our relative time.
in our relative time, because time is relative in space
Right, to the observer.
to the observer, right?
Right.
Which is why me and you were talking about extraterrestrial
Right.
beings,
Right.
civilizations,
Civilization.
those mammoths that are right now on the other side of that ice wall
So
in
does he
Antarctica.
believe the Earth is flat?
No.
No, the earth is round.
Explain that to him. Explain that to him. We're gonna be going for 1 and 1.
Okay, let's go 1 for 1. How about it?
Now, the
Yahtzee.
presently, as we know it, the universe is flat in the sense that it's.
You want me to give you a piece of
infinite.
paper so you can?
Right. Exactly.
I want you to show him this because you've told me this
Right.
about connecting.
Right. It's universe curved like this. If you took off in a given direction and traveled the whole universe, would you come back to the same point? That would be a curved universe. Or the universe could be flat. In other words, we look out 13.7 billion light years. But that's because that's all we can see.
We can't see past that.
We can't see past that point. We will never see past that point.
You hear that, Elon?
We will never see past that point.
Yeah.
Because the factors of light, exactly.
Right.
And the universe is increasingly expanding.
Right.
So using that theory, if we can see 13.7 billion light years, then that means 13.7 billion light years away, they can see another 13.7 billion light years.
Goodness gracious. So this just keeps going.
So it just keeps going.
We don't know.
We don't know. There's no way to know. Even if we assume going back to the Big Bang is correct, which as we know it right now, it should be, we got to remember that the universe looking that far away is 13.7 billion years old. That means it's at least, the known universe is at least 90 billion miles, 90 billion light years across. Because remember, it's expanded the whole time.
It's constantly growing. And can you explain a light year?
A light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year, in our equivalent of a year. And it's trillions of miles. I don't have the exact number.
Because we're factoring in now the speed of light.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And how far you would go at that speed in 1 year.
Right.
So that's how much our universe is ever expanding.
It takes light approximately a little over 7 minutes to get here from our sun.
7 minutes from our sun to contact the Earth.
Right. So anytime you look up at the sun, you're seeing it as it was 7 minutes ago.
So if it takes light 7 minutes, some of y'all could go home right now and get with y'all's baby mama, have a whole session, and it'd still be quicker than the light going from the sun to the Earth.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Damn.
Damn.
Yeah. Makes us feel pretty dumb, doesn't it?
Yeah. When you put it, I just had to break it down for
Right.
people. Some of y'all can go home right now and give your best effort. And you're still going to be faster than what it takes for the light to come from the sun to hit this earth. Now, you think about that next time you want to run your mouth. That's all I'm saying.
Remember, we're what's called a type 0 civilization. Right? You know, we're just a few million years from finding fire. You know,
Right.
not even a few million. You know, maybe 2.5 million. You know,
From
we're. I hate to say it, we're not shit. We put a lot more. We elevate ourselves a lot more than we actually are.
Right. Right.
You always need to keep that in your mind.
Right. Now, I wanted to ask you, we talked about how vast our universe is, right? talked about the wind in space. Do you believe that because our universe is ever expanding, Elon wants to send people to Mars, he wants to put us in a rocket ship, and I'm telling people, you're going to be on there screaming forever trying to get to where you're going, right?
Right.
And the universe, you might come up on a daggone planet that's got 30 moons, and it just pulls you into its gravitational pull, and you can never leave. There's so many variables that can happen.
There's a lot of variables, but as I tell you, in this meat sack form we're in, we're just so limited in how far we can go.
Exactly. Now, when that piece of paper, the thing that you showed me about space travel, right?
Right.
The universe looping, you're going straight through. You were talking to me about necessarily like a wormhole or like.
Right. You get into another area there, you get into quantum mechanics and stuff, and there's just so many mind-boggling. It's beyond human, our ability of our mind to figure out. Right, or to think that way.
Which is why I want to ask you, do you believe in extraterrestrials?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, the universe is perpetually filled with amino acids and all the chemistry that makes up our little simple body. It's everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere we look.
Right.
So
it'd be hard to think that in this vast universe that we, by God's design, we orbit and we do everything exactly precisely right. The same way our heart beats the way it's supposed to, the same way we breathe without our brain telling ourselves to breathe, right? We are moving in a very calculated way where we don't intercept or contact something that would be an earth killer, right? So because all these things are working the way that they are, there has to be something else out there because it's so expansive. We cannot be the only life force in 13 billion
light years. Well, my description is this. We do not know of a single thing in the universe that's a one-off.
Right.
We don't know of a single thing. Everything we see, there's billions, thousands, millions of them, right? What makes you think that we would be the only life form planet Earth would form the only life form?
That's true.
Right. Because Mother Nature doesn't work that way.
Right. It's a good point.
Yeah. Now, is there highly advanced, intelligent life prevalent? Probably not. We have to think of it like a twinkling Christmas tree with the twinkle lights on.
Right.
No two lights are on together. You're talking about such an expansive, vast period of time.
Yeah.
Civilizations have probably come and gone before and after us.
And we've not even known about it.
And we've not known about it, and maybe other civilizations didn't know about it.
Right. There could have been a whole planet of people that just eat peanut butter.
Right, exactly.
And we would have never known about it.
The flat universe theories, I tell you, in the flat universe, if the universe is flat and goes on forever,
right,
then every possible conceivable combination that you could create in your mind has to exist somewhere.
Right. So there's a planet of women that are 9 feet tall out there.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, baby. Yeah, yes, it is. That is a possible combination that I just came up with. It is conceivable. It is out there. They're 9 feet tall. They look good, and they wear deodorant.
Right. They wear deodorant.
Yeah.
And the only man on that planet is Derek.
Right. And guess what's happening? Y'all don't want to see me at nighttime because you're going to feel bad about yourself. Because the way I do is a little bit different. Okay? So, Weston, I know we've definitely hit our time. Dad, we want to have you back. We have barely cracked the surface of the knowledge that you
To
have.
know how you and I go.
We
forever.
do this
We go
forever. I would love to have you back. We're going to have you back. Thank you
sir.
for coming today.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for telling your
having
story.
me. Thank you, Antonio, for having me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we thank you for coming. We thank Weston for being here. Steak and Sauce family, this has been episode 8. And my heart is full, not just because this episode, but because we got to finally get you here, Dad. It's been great. We loved every minute of you being here. We want you to come back. I know people that are going to see this, you're going to become a fan favorite.
For sure.
They're going to want you back, okay? They're going to request it.
Not just another nut on that show, right?
But if you're watching this, we appreciate you. Thank you, Steak and Sauce family. Please hit that notification button. Please hit that subscribe button. Share it with everybody. We have great laughs on here, but we also try to give you guys good information, things that you can live by. Continue to support Scott Bunn on his podcast at Finding Your Place on YouTube. You can continue to see Weston's amazing work at carmack.media on IG. Special thank you to Twins Pizza at 125 Broad Street in Dublin. Today's show is sponsored by them. We want to continue to give you guys great content. We thank God for everything that he's putting together for us. And Antonio, do you have anything you want to sign out with?
No, I'm good.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, Dad. You too. As always, we love you guys. And until the next time.